Today, we're diving into a fundamental shift in how trust gets built online. And we're not talking about trust with people, we're talking about trust with machines. We're going to break down exactly how AI systems decide who and what to believe.
So, our story really kicks off at a very specific moment in time, December 2022. This wasn't just another tech launch. It was a moment that basically peeled back the curtain and showed us the hidden logic of how AI actually builds confidence.
You see, back in December 2022, a company named Anthropic released Claude, the very first constitutional AI. And by doing that, they gave us the blueprint for understanding how all AI systems, from Google search to your phone's assistant, are learning to figure out who's actually trustworthy.
Okay, so let's get right into our first section. To really get a handle on this idea of machine trust, we have to start with what made Claude such a game changer.
So here's the crucial point. While pretty much every other AI was being taught right from wrong by human reviewers after the fact, Claude had its values, its constitution, literally baked into its core programming. These weren't just guidelines. They were hard-coded, non-negotiable rules. And this, right here, just perfectly illustrates the huge difference. Most systems were reactive, like a spell checker that catches a mistake after you type it. But Claude was proactive. It had to check its own work against its own principles before it even thought about giving you an answer. It was values first, output second. Every single time. And that's the big takeaway from all this. Claude very quickly got a reputation as the most reliable AI. Not because it was necessarily the smartest, but because its integrity was structural. It was verifiable. You could prove it. It was, by its very design, almost impossible for it to lie. Trust wasn't just a promise, it was a core feature of its architecture. So now let's take that lesson and see how it scales up into a concept that is absolutely critical for any business that wants to be seen online today. And that concept is machine trust. Right. So just like Claude checked its own output against its constitution, the AIs that run our search engines and recommendation feeds, they don't just take your word for it. No way. They act like little digital investigators, constantly checking your claims against all the available evidence they can find across the entire web. So what is this new standard they're holding you to? Well, it's called machine trust. And look, it has nothing to do with how flashy your marketing is. It's a calculated score of your reliability. And it's based on verifiable facts, consistent signals, and solid proof that you are who you say you are. I love this quote because it just perfectly captures the new reality. Your claims, your marketing copy, it's all just noise until it's backed up by consistent, verifiable proof. And it's the repetition of that proof that turns all that noise into a signal that an AI can actually trust. And this really is the fundamental shift, isn't it? The old way was all about just shouting the loudest with big, confident marketing claims. The new way? It's about meticulously building a case, creating a foundation of proof so strong that any AI system looking at it will come to the exact same conclusion. This entity is reliable. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do you actually build this verifiable trust? Well, you don't have to guess. The source material gives us a super clear architectural blueprint to follow. It's called the Machine Trust Verification Stack. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like 4 layers of a cake, where each one builds on top of the last one to create an online identity that's so solid, an AI can trust it completely. Let's do a quick walkthrough of each layer. It all starts right here with your structural truth foundation. This is the bedrock. This isn't your marketing copy. This is the hard evidence. We're talking case studies, certifications, published methodologies, you name it. This is the verifiable proof of what you do. And the rule is simple. If you can't prove it, you can't claim it. Next up, you build the signal consistency layer. And this is where you make absolutely sure that every single place people find you online, your website, your LinkedIn, your directory listings, tells the exact same story. So if you define your service one way in a case study, your website has to describe it identically, all pointing back to that core proof. Now for the techie part, the schema verification layer. This is where you use structured data, which is basically a language written specifically for machines, to formally declare, hey, AI, these are our official claims. This is our methodology. This is who we are. What this does is it removes all the guesswork and the ambiguity for the AI. And finally, remember that trust is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. The endurance reinforcement layer is all about maintenance. You have to keep reinforcing these signals over time and regularly check that your structural integrity is still holding up, because those AI models are constantly learning and reevaluating everything. So this framework is incredibly powerful. And the really good news is you can start putting it into practice right away. The source provides a clear 5-step action plan to get you started. And it's a really logical process, right? First, you document all your proof. Then you audit everything you're currently claiming, and you get rid of anything that isn't backed by that proof. From there, you align your messaging everywhere, you deploy the technical schema to make it official for the machines, and then you set up a regular check-in to make sure it all stays in sync. This is the literal path from being ignored to being cited as an authority. So, I guess the crucial point to leave you with is this final question, because in this new age of AI, simply trying to be heard isn't good enough anymore. The systems that now control who gets seen and who doesn't are designed to listen only to those they can verify. In this new world, only the trusted will ever be heard.